New president, and you are here to meet with President Morsi, the foreign minister and the prime minister. How has the election of a new Islamist president impacted relations?
Well, I think now it's a time, as I discussed with him, for a new beginning. It's not the beginning. We've had such long historic relations between the UK and Egypt. And actually, I've been before several times as Foreign Secretary, but this is the first time I've been since the President was elected. And I think we should regard it, therefore, in an optimistic way. There is a spirit of optimism, I think, here in Egypt. There's tremendous potential for the British and Egyptian governments to work together, for British people to come here as tourists in larger numbers, for British companies to come here providing jobs for Egyptians. So now we need to work on all of these things. I think it looks like being a good period for relations between our countries.
You're here to offer UK support to Egypt and to expand commercial ties. Which areas? Tell us more.
Well, there are some British companies here already in a big way, as you know. In fact, British companies are the biggest investors in the whole world in Egypt. Companies like BP, like BG, British Gas, like Vodafone, HSBC. These are very well-known companies. They're British companies. Many of them want to do more here in Egypt. They are now looking to expand what they're doing. And there are many more companies behind those, and I particularly want the smaller businesses, small, medium-sized businesses, to do more trade between Britain and Egypt, which will create jobs. And one of the things we are doing through our Arab Partnership Fund is to help to train people in business opportunities, business ethics, so that they can create their own businesses here in Egypt. And I met some of the people we're helping this morning.
Syria is also on the agenda of your talks here. Mr. Lakhdar Brahimi was here. He said it was a very difficult mission to bring peace to Syria. Britain wants more sanctions imposed on Bashar al-Assad's regime. Have you discussed the issue with President Morsi?
Yes, very much. This was the main foreign policy issue that I discussed with the President. I congratulated him on what he said when he went to Tehran and how he opposed the oppression of the Assad regime. And I think we agree completely about the situation in Syria. Now, of course, that doesn't mean we have resolved the situation in Syria. We're working on it just as the Egyptian government are. We would like to see a strong resolution at the United Nations, but Russia has blocked that so far. In the absence of that, we are working on giving as much help as we can to the Syrian people. Britain is the second largest national donor of humanitarian aid to people fleeing Syria. And we want Arab states to join us in Europe as much as possible in putting every possible pressure on the regime, cutting off its sources of finance and trade, making sure that it is diplomatically and economically isolated, because that is, at the moment, the best way that we can accelerate a change in the situation in Syria.
Britain is also calling for intensifying sanctions on Iran. Iran says this is in violation of the rules of the IAEA. It says it has a right to enrich uranium. Clearly, Iran is not giving up on that right. What are the options?
Well, we are in favor of Iran having civil nuclear power. We have no problem with nuclear power in Iran as long as the world can see that it is not for aggressive purposes, that it is not for the purposes of constructing a nuclear weapon. And we and other countries have often offered to assist Iran with civilian nuclear power. So that offer remains on the table. Iran has not persuaded the rest of the world that its program is for purely peaceful purposes. We want to see the negotiations on that succeed. But if negotiations aren't working, then the best option we have available to us is to intensify the sanctions.
Britain is being accused of failing in commitments to freeze assets of the former regime. There's property and companies linked to Mubarak and his cronies that are unaffected by sanctions. Is the UK hiding stolen wealth? Is your country breaching anti-corruption accords?
No, we are one of the strongest countries in the world in fighting corruption and upholding the rule of law. So we have frozen assets, and across the European Union we have frozen assets. But we do then need evidence of where those assets came from. For the law to operate on this, we can't do it just on the basis of suspicion or people saying we think that belongs to a certain person. We have to have the evidence. And clearly we need to do more work together to do that. So I've suggested to the President today and to the Foreign Minister of Egypt that we send a British prosecutor here from our Crown Prosecution Service, and we can do this very quickly, to work with the Egyptian Prosecutor General's office. The information can be shared, and wherever we can take action, we will be able to take action. So we're very keen to do this in the British government, but we have to proceed on the basis of our laws, of course, as in any law-abiding country.
Britain now has all the official requests for legal assistance to trace and freeze the assets. What now?
Well, clearly you can gather from what I'm saying that we do need more information. We have asked for meetings over the past year, meetings of officials to discuss this. A meeting was held in May earlier this year. So there is no lack of willingness on the part of the British government. But we will need some more information. We do need some more cooperation in the way that I have described. So I have offered all of that from the UK. The President and the Foreign Minister have welcomed this idea, so now we will try to work out the details. And I hope we can see some real progress on this.
Excellency, British Foreign Secretary William Hague, thank you for joining us on the programme.
Thank you very much indeed.